Comforting.
Of course, I'm deaf.
Ain't we all?
Well, there goes my excuse.
Yep.
Hearing aids.
What?
What?
Making sure everybody has it.
Okay.
Take a moment. Thank you, Kathy.
Well, I'm not leaving.
Okay, we're waiting on Bob.
I thought that was a bouquet.
We're waiting on Bob. We're waiting on that. So you're ready to go. Did you get rained or hailed out?
Yeah. Just,
Our dogs were outside. They started howling. They really did.
no, zero chance of rain on it, but I tell you what, still made lemonade. Took it inside and it was awesome
Inside,
in the house.
really?
Yeah, it was awesome.
The guy was really good, really good.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
So I heard.
one of those special moments, you know,
Mhm.
when music
Not
does.
today.
You weren't there.
We usually go.
Rain. It's easy. It's built on a little amphitheater, built on and covered amphitheater.
They covered up a bit.
It's my time to kind of relax and read.
Get 40 permits.
Actually,
So he had the first half, the other side.
just to look at it
And
and
the
share.
winds came up.
Yeah. That would have been a little.
Let's get started, folks. So everybody's here.
Hey,
And this is a special meeting, a workshop for the board. I'm gonna turn this over to Caleb right quick and, geez, I lived in South too long. Anyway, we wanna bring this to a workshop because there are a number of issues that I think need full discussion by the board before we vote on it at a public meeting, and it's better to do that there or here now than there, et cetera. So Caleb, rock and roll.
Thank you, sir. Well, gentlemen, thank you for coming. As you know, you're going to be applying for the More Housing Now grant in December. A lot needs to happen before then. Now, it's not as easy as, you know, some grants like CDOT grants just require a match. Some grants require crash data. This requires land use changes. So in the document I gave you, there is a More Housing Now best practices. It'll have little check boxes beside there. So if you guys look on that, it should probably be page 3 of 25 on your documents. And there's a lot that we have. I took the liberty of checking one box. A bunch of little boxes to check. Okay, so here's a lot of things we need to get done. One is use of vacant publicly owned land for affordable housing development, right? That's our goal. We have that one. Subsidize/reduce local government fees. Now, there is a lot on that. In fact, on that, and I don't want to keep you guys going back and forth, but on that first page I sent, there's a link to go to the DOLA website where it shows examples of other towns subsidizing and reducing local government fees. A few of them are building permit fee waivers. So I would add we'd probably come up with a resolution to change our building permit fee schedule. And somewhere along that would say for deed restricted houses that are proposition / affordable / deed restricted houses would have free building permits, but not free plan check fees, right? So that would probably need to be done first, is a resolution for that. The other one is water and sewer fees and working with Black Hills. So we need to sit down, this board needs to sit down with Round Mountain's board and start to negotiate lower tap fees for affordable homes. There's an entire 6 blocks there. The only affordable homes is going to be in roughly a block and a half of homes. So that is one, is reducing local water and sewer fees for the affordable homes, for deed restricted homes. And the other is talking with Black Hills. I have talked with Black Hills. They already have a program in place for this. So we can highlight that as part of the grant application. Again, that page you're looking at with all those check boxes, when you submit the grant, the more check boxes you have, the better it is, the more likely that you get the grant.
Caleb, go to the map and just quickly point out the 6 blocks and then the block or block and a half is gonna be affordable.
So on this map, it shows these two halves as white. This bottom one is not the town's, but if the top block 33, half of block 33, and then the two triangles plus 6th Street. So it's quite a large area. I estimated a lot of these multifamily homes that are 3 stories or 60 units, you could put 1, 2, 3, anywhere from like 4 to 5, 60 unit
All
areas.
right, but it's the red part then is not gonna be included, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's all privately owned. And the
Okay, so the question I immediately have is why should privately owned properties be subsidized with no building permit fee?
Well, no, that is only for the deed restricted house, for the affordable home houses.
Okay,
That is only for the,
okay, so, all right, just want to clarify.
Okay, could I get one more clarification?
Yeah.
When you're saying the other blocks, those other 4 blocks, you want to rezone, planning commission, us, whatever. And you're saying big apartment building, and those are huge apartments that you're talking about. 3 stories?
Yeah.
And what, 80 units?
60 units,
Is
yeah.
really the demand for that? That's not my question. So then you go down to the next 2 that are privately owned, and you're saying triplexes, right? Maybe. I mean, you can zone it so it can be higher density.
yes,
And then you go down to the furthest to the west, and you're saying we want to divide all of those lots into smaller units, for what, 12.5 feet wide?
no. So it'll go, I have a 3 to 4 on the right side, but it's probably gonna get cut to 3. So 3 in the right, 2 in the middle as far as stories, and 1 story in the left. We would cut them from 25, it's 25 by 125, you keep the 25, you cut it down the middle, it's 25 now by 62.5. And you'd make, now I talked with Mr. Shy on it, there's 2 ways we can do it. We either, probably be harder to do this way, we cut these lots in half through the town, vacate lines, and have a 1-way road through the alleys. Or you would go through and just have a developer, make that, hopefully the developer gets it, and then maybe the developer tweaks that out, so that's it.
So you're talking about a developer coming in and buying those whole blocks from somebody?
So what are the size of the lots now?
25 by 125. And then it would be 25 by 62.5.
And what is the purpose for making it 62.5?
This would be the tiny homes. You asked where tiny homes would go, that would be, as far as like a zone in the multifamily district, those first 2 blocks on the left would be the tiny home zone.
What happens when people say, no, I don't want my lots divided into that. I don't want that happening.
Well, it depends on, what the town wants. I have gotten a lot of positive feedback so far, but that doesn't mean there's not gonna be negative feedback. You have to kind of think, how many more single family homes does the town really need? And compared to growth and, prosperity, how do we need to start planning for the future? And then if we are going to planning for the future, why not there? I mean, that's the most perfect place for it. It's out south of town, not near any other neighborhoods really. I honestly think it's a perfect place for it.
But let's say we were to zone everything multifamily, that whole section we're talking about, but I own a lot, I could still go ahead and build a single family home, correct?
No.
No.
No, once you get changed multifamily, it's multifamily.
Really? I mean, aren't most zones, you can go multi, but you don't have to.
I've changed that with this district. It would be a multifamily district. And it
What
would,
if the homeowner doesn't want that?
That's
what I was.
then they don't get it, then they don't have a single family home there anymore.
But they want a single family home, that's what they bought for.
Right.
Okay, well, what's there now?
Cause they can't get the stuff there, but if they,
Okay, well, now, so this is what is, exactly, right? So they can't get stuff there. But what the town will do is that they'll put the infrastructure in there for free, shoot their property, right, their property value up, rezone it to multifamily. You shot their property value up even more. So, yeah, you're gonna, on one hand, you might have someone complaining who does not want this, but on the other hand, you've just helped them out by raising their property value. So if they don't want it, they sell, they make a profit, and they're happy.
Have you contacted anybody down there?
We sent letters.
You did send letters, and what's your response so far?
I've gotten 3 calls that were positive. 3 calls.
We just did it correct, so it's had enough time for all of them to.
No, that mostly, planning commission meeting, we'll talk about that. Look, there's,
Excuse me.
even if someone,
Who's this here?
again, it just depends on what the town wants.
Who's this gentleman?
I guess.
You can ask him for.
Ask them to reintroduce.
You can ask him, Paul.
Yes, gentlemen, who's zooming in, could you state your name, please?
Michael Nuanis.
Yes, okay, and you're from Westcliff, right?
Yes?
Okay, thank you.
But I'd like to continue onto the other items. Again, right, we had this big infrastructure grant, there's things that need to get done, so reduce local fees.
But if we, just listening to the other board members, if, do we need the whole 6 blocks for high density housing?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you here, density bonus program for housing needs is another check off the list. So the higher the density, the more likelihood you get this grant, right? So the state's just not gonna give you this money because you asked for it, right? There are strings.
No, I understand that, but the question is, we're gonna zone it so there's 3 stories, 1 story, 2 story, multifamily dwellings, right? How many units would that be?
On the left, if we took the 2 blocks on the left, there's 28 lots per block. You split those in half, that is now 56 plus 56, 112. So the 112 lots on the first 2 blocks. I estimated for 2 stories, you might be 40 units a building. So maybe 4 buildings on each block, so 40 times 4 for 1 block and the 2, so 8 40-unit buildings in the middle. And then on the right, you could see anywhere up to, gosh, I know on the town lots, you could see anywhere from, if there's 3 stories, there'd be 60 units, so you probably fit 4 in just the town owned lots. And then plus another 4 in the private. So 8 60-unit lots on the right 2 blocks. So it'd be quite substantial. I'm estimating that if it ever gets fully built out, it would double the population for Westcliff. From 550 to, roughly 1,000 to 1,200.
So do you think there is the demand for something like that?
Yeah, look,
It seems like that study that you sent out that I read
Mhm.
for 56 pages, when they're saying for Custer County, they're talking about things like the 4-plex for the schools. They're not talking about huge development. This is a big development you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, look, the average pay, I think was in the 40s, but the average home is all the way up in the 500. And there's hardly little to no rental units in the town. We have, if you ask what we need, we have businesses that close down during the winter. We have businesses that save up during the summer to survive during the winter. And we also have businesses that are just closing down, right? Businesses close down, the treasurer is closing down, and there's other businesses that are closing down. Now, I'm not saying it's because, that the town is gonna come in and make all their problems better. That's not the point of a town. But what we can do is trying to get more, instead of finding people during the winter to help these businesses, how about we just have more people live here to help these businesses to survive during the winter, right? So, I mean, it's to me, that's pretty simple.
I understand that. Are there enough people that really want to move into multifamily houses? Or is it it sounds like in that study, vast majority of the growth is second homes and people, remote, people who want to be out away from town. They don't want to be in town in apartment buildings. I mean, that's what it sounded like to me when you're reading it.
Yeah, well, the study also showed a high need for apartments, which both towns really have little to none of. Just because you put some buildings up doesn't mean you change your town, right? Just when you put buildings up, you provide homes for people, right? People that can afford to live here, afford to work here, and to provide back into the economy that they take from. So that's really what this is all about.
So do you think the developers are interested in something like this?
Yes, I'm looking now at most of their projects. I've talked to 3 so far. But I took Fading West, for example. Right now, they're only usually doing 60 units a building at a time. And that's really all these towns can push forward because that's all the room they have. Well, we have a lot of room and we can, if the more enticing we make this on this checklist, which I'd like to get back to, the more incentivizes we can have, the more enticing it is for developer to come.
When you're talking about the developers, are they going to then take and if it's apartment buildings, you're gonna turn them into condos and sell them out? Or is this gonna be strictly apartments where you're renting them?
With the town-owned lots, it depends on how the town wants to do it. If we sell it to developer, we can sell it with contingencies on a percentage being condos and a percentage being apartments. I would suggest a higher number of apartments compared to condos.
Say that again?
You can suggest percentages of condos versus apartments. I would suggest anywhere from like 10% condos to 90% apartments. For each building, not just per unit. Anyhow, I'd like to continue. So recapping, right? Looking at this checklist of the things they need for this grant, using publicly owned land, subsidizing, reducing local government fees. We talked about water and sewer taps. So we'll need to schedule something with the Round Mountain Board to talk to them and try to get this like to get this done before December. Black Hills already has an initiative. I'm working with them right now. The county, we need to come before the county and ask for them for on proposition land zoning now. And that link that I sent you, there are other examples of other communities doing this. So it's not like I just pulled this out of the hat anywhere, but also waiving property tax for certain properties for these affordable home properties. Again, you want to make it as appealing to a developer as you can.
So the question I had came up with that's the state controls the property tax, I think.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a county, whether it has to be funneled through the county or not, we have to find out.
So the town can have incentives for the property tax that comes into the town to reduce just the West Cliff property tax that like I would pay.
Right,
So that can be done. The town can do that
okay.
or reduce it or.
That amount is very minuscule, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not gonna be much of an enticement for a developer that you're gonna.
Yeah, I think this last year we had like 68,000 total,
Total.
but still it's an incentive.
Anyway, yeah. So you said the town,
President,
yes, please.
the grant you're gonna apply for in December,
Yes, sir.
the scope of that is what?
Water and sewer infrastructure for the entire 6 blocks.
Not just a study of it, but actually to
Actually, yeah, yes, sir. But again, it comes at a cost. You don't get the infrastructure if you don't rezone.
Have to have someplace for it to go to and be able to be paying it back.
Exactly, and I, talked with Randy Sneed, she says, this is really kind of a taking away the draconian, her words, zoning that was here before and kind of reworking it, right? Getting rid of some old and throwing in some new, for this zoning. So again, reducing local government fees, that was another one. Expedited review, that's just, it goes into that, but it's kind of just the building department sometimes, but towns and cities will take, a few months to get a building permit out. Me and Dwight can pop that up pretty quickly. So moving past that, density bonus for housing needs. Again, you asked why that was necessary. That's a huge one, for that grant is density. Sub-metering utility charges, that just goes specifically into, reducing local government fees. Dedicated source to subsidize affordable housing and infrastructure and cost. Okay, so, and we can do this. I've talked to Clay. You would have to put something in it to address the Tabor. But my thought is this. when we get the infrastructure money, the town put $300,000 into it from the reserves with 1.1 coming from DOLA. That would mean that the town would need to make up $300,000 that it invested into this program. So there's a few ways we can do this. We either sell the land to a developer at a cheaper price. I don't know if 300,000 is reasonable for that area. I couldn't tell you. But what we would do is that money that we get back from tap fees, we reinvest back into the amount we took it from. And then whatever is left over, we use those funds and we track those funds and we put them into, let's just say a developer wanted to have some deed restricted homes. Well, we can incentivize that by being able to saying, hey, okay, you want to put these homes in, the higher the density and the cheaper they are, we'll give you these funds for that. And it would only come from this grant. So it's not like we're spending more money from X, Y, and Z. It just came from really free dollars that the state has given us. Does that make sense? So we would need to set up a program like that in the budget this year.
You said tap fees,
Yes.
money back from the tap fees.
Yep.
You're talking about Round Mountain, right?
Yep.
Okay, because you didn't say Round Mountain, you said the town. So,
Okay.
well, you said the town, not Round Mountain.
Oh, I-
So round, that's where you threw me off right there.
Yeah.
I thought you were trying to collect the tap fees.
No. So yeah, we just act as a developer with that agreement and the town would get a percentage from those tap fees once somebody hooks up into it. As far as my understanding, I still haven't looked right over that.
Help with the matching funds.
Correct. Well, not on that. We will be talking about that in a second.
Wait, could you just explain that a little bit further? So the tap fees, we're putting in with this grant, the infrastructure, the
Yep.
water and sewer.
Mhm.
Therefore, when somebody is going to apply for a tap fee,
Yeah.
that money goes to Round Mountain and then we get a portion of it back
Correct.
because we did the infrastructure.
Correct. We acted as a developer.
How much do we get back? Do you have any idea?
I don't.
That's something that Dave would have to figure out, because it all comes into how much money went into the project, so that's something I couldn't even give you an idea.
And that's why we needed this for.
That's one of the things that we actually do have in place in our rules and regs.
Is which,
When somebody does the development of the water and sewer lines, and then somebody buys a tap fee, they pay us a tap fee, and then there's another fee that's tagged onto that, which then would go back to the person that developed it, but it's on a time limit. This is something you need to talk to Dave. I'm just giving you a real broad view of it, and I don't want to get into any details because I could be giving you bad information. So
That's fine.
that's basically what it is.
But to get on track is that that's why it's very important for us to sit down with Round Mountain and to talk about this grant one and to talk about tap fees afterwards. I think it'd be beneficial to both the town and Round Mountain.
I mean, there is no, Randy and I have to be careful since we're on both boards, but to my knowledge, you don't have an agreement with Round Mountain.
No.
Regarding that.
The town has an agreement with Round Mountain, but not regarding this grant, no.
Right.
And I want to start with the speak softly and then use the big stick later. So I'm hoping that we can, handle this diplomatically, but, a $30,000 tap fee for a tiny home is going to drive up costs. So the town is going to need to be, if the town has deed restricted homes that are like that, but regardless, it needs to be talked about. And it would only be deed restricted homes, not for this entire 6 blocks, but just deed restricted homes.
Yeah, that's something that you gotta get with Dave on, 'cause
No problem.
and the lawyers have gotta get involved in this.
Sure. Okay, middle multifamily, use by right in single family residential zoning districts. Again, this is another check they have. We just talked about it earlier. What if somebody doesn't want it? Well, if we don't do it, then the likelihood of getting a grant is little to none. It says it right here. It basically says in layman's term, take these single family zones and make them multifamily, or at least have use by right.
See, I'm kind of confused on that. I mean, there are plenty of towns that are doing the opposite. They're taking single family and they're allowing people to, you know, subdivide and put little houses on apartments. But I imagine there's gonna be people that are gonna really dislike losing that right. They'll say it's a taking.
Yeah, so, I did talk with, we talked, kind of brushed this over with Clay, and, not that they don't have the right to make that argument, but what are we taking from them? You know, they had nothing there, and now we've given them, again, infrastructure, so their property value's up, and now we've rezoned it to where their property value's up. So you could file the takings, but, you know, again, there was nothing there, now we put something there. So what are we taking from them? They still have the land.
Could be their dreams.
They could argue that in court if it ever came to it, but I don't think it needs to go to it. No,
Well, I'm just saying, though, it could be a problem.
it could. I don't doubt it.
Well, so basically the bottom line is how many lots are there total right now, today?
How many lots? 28 lots per block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 times 28.
But those are,
Let's say with minus ours, the ones the town owned, but just seconds, in other words, so those 200 landowners today, in order for them to fund this 1.5 million, each of them's gonna have to come up with their share of it, and probably the odds are they can't do it.
Exactly. And
So this is a way to get it done.
I think there's only 28 landowners total.
28 property owners, see, so you divide 1.5 million by 28. So there you go, see, so.
there's some people down there own six
That's
lots.
28 owners, see, yeah, so anyway, so that's the whole thing. And the odds of that happening around mountains, that's not gonna do it out of the kindness of their heart at this point anyway, right? Because
We got plenty of projects consuming money at the moment.
Exactly, so anyway, so that's
So just one further, if we were to not do the whole 6 blocks, do you think that the chances of getting this grant is greatly reduced?
I mean, that's a good question. I think the more the better. I don't. Could it be reduced? Yes. And it really just depends on what the grant reviewer do. It really, it's beneficial to do all 6 blocks. So you have that there already for these property owners, right? So when they want to build, they have somewhere to build. If not, you could just be favoring some of these blocks and not favoring the others, right? Because then that argument will come up. Do it all, get it done. This project's been put off for forever. I say we just get it done. And
Have we decided that we do want a tiny home district that big?
that will be decided in the planning commission. And after the planning commission gives a recommendation to the board will then decide whether or not that is something the board wants. So continuing on, affordable houses used by right in residential zoning district. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty much, we have that, right? I guess I'll have to add that to the zoning ordinance, but anyhow, accessory dwelling unit ADU used by right in single family zoning districts. Now, we might want to consider passing ADU ordinance into the code. I think we already have this right now, but I don't think anybody knows about it. So I don't know how you guys want to go about this. When I do the grant, I'm gonna say, yeah, we have this because, right, the single family dwellings already allow for a building being 550 square feet at a minimum,
If we,
secondary.
I thought we, passed an ordinance on lot size, which then would allow an ADU on it. But we said 550 square feet was the smallest it could be.
We did, yeah. So again, we don't have to do this. We can do this if you want to or not. Like I said, when I fill out this grant, I'm gonna check this is done and then explain it to them. But if necessary, if you guys wanted to take our single or tiny home ordinance and then look at other lots in the town and then say, okay, what zones, do we want more of these tiny home ADUs going up, if any at all? Then we might want to talk about that and just kind of give us more brownie points for this grant. I don't think it's necessary, so.
But we don't know if we have an ADU compliant zone at the moment?
There's language in there for the ADUs.
There is, but there's not a ordinance that shows that somebody can go through and say, okay, ADU, here's this ordinance on ADUs, let me go through. You'd have to look for it, and it's residential, single family, up to 2 homes. And the secondary home cannot be larger than the first structure and not less than 550 square feet. So that would be your ADU right there. So that's why I'm thinking,
We have that in the zones now?
we do.
It's in the code,
That's
it's
in
in Title 10.
10.2.3, Title 10, chapter 2, section 3.
Didn't we just recommend to go down, take it down to 500 feet?
No. Not on that.
I think that was
Definition
master plan.
For the codes for tiny homes.
That was the definition of a tiny
Oh,
home.
thank you.
Not the,
Not gas stuff.
500 feet and less. So, up to you. I don't know if you guys are wanting to see this. I can bring it before the planning commission and kind of feel it out.
I'm sorry to step out. I didn't think that, the Denver Post.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but he's trying to, we back, anyway. But let's go back to the zoning issue on those western lots, those blocks. And we could rezone those multifamily, right? What you wanna do?
The western 2 blocks,
Yeah,
Do all of it.
all of it, like I'm saying.
well, I mean, those western 2 blocks or whatever. Do they have to be low income? Do they have to be, no, so they could be a 500 square or 1,000 square foot apartment, that'd be fine.
Right now, I have it in the wording to be passed. Again, the planning commission can change it, or the board can change it when it comes to you, but right now I have it worded as homes that are less than 500 square foot, so tiny homes. Those left 2 blocks. So it'd be.
Yeah, but what, we brought it up with the landowners don't want that.
Well, again, I mean, what if the landowners don't want multifamily? Then we don't get the grant, we don't get the infrastructure.
Well, I know that, but you gotta take into consideration the rights that landowners have. They have rights, We can't just say, that's gone. You gotta get their input. And if we want multifamily there, that's one thing. If we wanna say not only multifamily, but there can't be they have to be at least minimum of 500 square feet or whatever. And that's what I would consider, I only taken their right to have a single family dwelling on it. Now you're forcing them to do something that they may not want to do. They may be interested in multifamily, but not such small units. So I don't see the need for that unless it, we say, well, if they don't like it, they can sell it. I don't know what the rest of the board thinks. Personally, I don't think that's how we should approach this as a board. If the landowners don't want to be rezoned into something they don't want, maybe they did have a plan to build a home. I don't think a lot of those lots have changed hands over the years. So the point of it is, what if they, okay, so you can put a multifamily dwelling on there, duplex, fourplex, eightplex, whatever, but they don't want to have it be 500 square foot or less or whatever it is.
Yes, again, so the zoning on those 2 blocks off to the west is still yet to be determined. The planning commission can make its recommendation, but when it comes to the board, right, you guys will be able to tweak this ordinance around to when it passes. If you don't want 500 square foot, then you just put a home, 7% if you want to put a square foot amounts there, you can, or just have a home to be built on no more than 2 blocks, or 2 lots, and must have an ADU, and it can be accompanied with an ADU. So, I mean, that's another alternative that I just came up with, but that would also fit this grant, right, and check off some boxes on this grant.
But a person would want to build some townhomes there, they're multifamily, right? But they're not, but he doesn't want to have it be constricted to such small size per unit.
What we could do is PUD use by right in this area. So if they have, or special use, PUD as special use, and make it to where if they wanted to change that, they'd come before the board, give their proposition, you know, the planning commission board, give their proposition, and then get the approval therefore to do that. So that's another option.
You know, Caleb, at some point, I don't know exactly when, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at all the data that was in that assessment that was done several years ago.
2019.
Yeah, I mean, things have changed from then, but have you tried to work out any expectation about what percentage of the people that live around here need the affordable housing? And how does that translate into units? I mean, I had a lot of numbers about, you know, the people that are making, this is old numbers, like 11 grand a year, and they can't afford to rent or do anything, but somehow, I guess the engineer in me would like to see those numbers translated into some sort of expectations.
Yeah, so I have looked over that housing needs assessment, but it's been a while, about like a week, and I haven't really studied it as probably as best as I should have. But there are multiple income levels, right? 21, 30 being the next one, 40, then 50. You know, I don't know if there's necessarily a need, right? We start at 3 to 4 stories, then we can trim it down to 3 stories if needed.
Well, I'm not saying what we should do. I would like to see a numerical basis for that, because the other thing in that I found startling, and this is distracting from what you're gonna do, but at some point I want to talk about this, is I was stunned to see, according to that almost a third of the money coming into this area is people who have investments, and that money is coming from interest and dividends and stuff like that. So that was kind of set me back. I thought retirement pay would be the big deal, and it was sort of similar. So whether people who are low wage people aren't coming here because they can't afford it, or just the market's so high they never will, that's kind of an open question.
Yeah, and I'm thinking.
In terms of the growth part.
Yeah, and as we grow, if there's only single family houses, you know, and we have this opportunity to do this, I think it's almost like a disservice to someone who might want to live out.
Well, I'm not saying we shouldn't do anything.
Mhm.
I'm just curious as to what the numbers pencil out to be.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I'd be surprised how many people would, if it were, you know, opening up, grand openings tomorrow,
Yeah.
where you can reserve it, I bet you'd go fast. I would agree.
The county's about 5,000 people during the winter.
Okay.
So you're talking about a 20% increase in, if you say it's 1,000 people.
It would go from 500 to 1,000, so roughly.
It's from 500, the town would go from 500 to 1,000.
Yeah.
So that's 500 people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's different.
So Caleb, when you went to Silver Cliff and the county to ask them to be involved in a study,
The housing needs assessment got passed.
and they both agreed?
Mhm.
And so is that gonna kind of update what was done in 2019?
Exactly. We're talking numbers here. We'll get some updated numbers. I'm trying to have this housing needs assessment done in a good time to where as we're breaking ground on this infrastructure, we send this out to a few developers, or just, you know, post it to where we can get that attention. And hopefully once this infrastructure is lined up, then we get some houses being built. So then we're not waiting so long to get those built, right? So
This
that's
new assessment, do you have any expectation when it would be done?
Yeah, June or July of next year.
For this grant, we're gonna apply for it.
Bit a cart before the horse in my mind.
No, I wouldn't disagree with you. Yeah, but we can run off the old housing need assessment number from 2019, and there's also custom work done in 2022. So we can run off those numbers, and I was told from our Department of Local Affairs, but it's really the developers who are going to want numbers
That's the one.
for these housing needs assessment.
So if we do not get this grant and we change the zoning in all these blocks, I don't know what my question is, but we've really changed that whole area with no infrastructure.
Well, we've also opened up an opportunity for that to be built, right? The town is only gonna be able to build on what the town owns. The town won't be able to build on the rest, so the town at least has open opportunity for it. for this. I mean, this could take up if everything was built out, it could take up to 10 years to build it out, no doubt.
Longer.
Yeah, even longer. This is not like it's not as soon as we get this infrastructure in, it's blown up out of the side.
What if you don't get the grant for the infrastructure? Was his question.
That was the question. Well, then we go again for the infrastructure. That's my plan is they're gonna have openings this December, but then they'll reopen April, August, and December again next year. We just reapply. Tweak the grant, talk to our Department of Local Affairs rep, see what we missed, fix it, reapply.
Are they giving you the indication that they think the money supply is gonna keep on coming?
Yes. Yeah, even on the CML conference, they did notify, they did say that, there would be more money coming for affordable housing. I just got the phone with Randy and then 20 million for this grant will be available in December. Continuing on, we went over dedicating funding sources, middle multifamilies, basically turning residential into, multifamily, single family into multifamily, excuse me. Affordable housing as used by right in zoning districts. I don't know why they put that in there. It's kind of redundant, if you ask me. Accessory dwelling units, just got done talking about that. Allow PUDs with integrated affordable housing units. So we allow PUDs as used by right. We probably have to look at this during the planning commission meeting. And under 10.2.2, where it shows the zone district use schedule, put it as used by right. Allowing small square footages in residential unit sizes. I think we do that pretty much already, right? 550 square foot. All right, and so that's the main areas. Basically, that first page is kind of everything we need to kind of check off. Is that first page right there? Go back to my sheet. All right. We'll kind of play it like this. First thing you need to do is rezone these 6 blocks. Sorry, I'm getting worms on the computer. Rezone the 6 blocks. If without this, there'll be no grant. The higher the density, the better. Eliminate building permit costs. A resolution would be needed for this. This is on that first page that I gave you guys. Work to cut costs to reduce local government fees. We will need to work on getting Round Mountain tap fees down for single family units and multifamily units. Again, this is only for the deed restricted homes, not for everything else.
Which document is this?
That is a first page in email format, actually.
Oh, the email.
So right above that, it's page 2 of 3. Maybe possibly working with UACOG to see if they can offer subsidies if we get housings in there. I know they have subsidy programs they have currently already, but you know, possibly working with them to see if they want to become a housing authority for this. Right, we give it up to the developer and trust UACOG to be the housing authority for these. Tap fee reinvestment, we went over that. Property tax relief would be another thing to go through. And again, there is a few others that we just hit before. Scrolling down.
Property tax is really set by the county. We have a basis or a,
The town could reduce the property tax or give an incentive for that on what we get, not what county or gets, it's just what the town, 68,000, it would. So yeah, we can't do it.
On the DOLO website, well, there's some other areas like Eagle. The town provided a 50% reduction in water tap fees for affordable housing projects, right? So Eagle's done something like that. Crested Butte offered discounts and tap fee programs. And so on and so forth. There's a bunch more. City of Longmont came out with affordable housing program with numerous incentives. And I think that is where John is going to come into play. Him and myself, we have worked on a document like I kind of took Longmont's document and made a West Coast affordable housing program. So if you go to page 15, that's where the start of it is. If you'd like to explain the document in short, John?
It's basically making the case for affordable housing, but also making the case for more housing choice. we're a single-family house community right now. I think there's a need for the community to have more choices, not just affordable apartments for our workforce that's making $15 an hour. But for people that want to come in and they don't want a yard to take care of, they would just love to have a 2-bedroom townhome with a 1-car garage and they'd be perfectly happy with that. We don't have those kind of choices in town. My wife and I, when we moved here, we were downsizing. We would have loved to have that kind of choice. We ended up buying an Adams subdivision and then hiring a landscape architect to work with a yard that we really didn't want to have, but it had a great view of the mountains, so we went with it. So there's a choice issue. I think another thing that we all need to be aware of is the population growth we've been riding for the last decade or so, is the baby boom retirement. That's one of the reasons that our median age is over 60 right now. That retirement boom is running out of steam and ends in 2030, when the last boomer turns 65. And so the state demography office is projecting a population decline in the county and an employment decline in the county. I think we need to put a finger on the scale and try and reverse that trend. And that's part of providing more housing choice and affordable housing and making it possible for our essential workers to afford to live here. The people who are the baristas and the fry cooks and the waitresses and waiters and the deputies and the school teachers who can't afford to buy a house here or any kind of housing here. So that in a nutshell is I just wrote a case for changing our attitude and our strategies around housing. Another thing I should add today, I had a conversation with Lucas Epp. Lucas said that the COVID money that they had set aside for their own affordable workforce housing efforts in the county, that's probably not going to be spent for that effort. It's just, there's no, not enough traction that the workforce housing people are getting in the county to do anything. I asked him if he'd be willing to consider taking some of that money and directing it towards the town's effort. He wasn't aware of what we were doing south of Herman Park. And he was very open to that, said, get back to me with how much money you need and what you want it for. So I think we talked about $300,000 that the town was going to be on the hook for. Maybe some of that could be covered by that COVID money. That it has to be committed this year. It has to be spent next year.
Great.
But John, you just mentioned your wife and you would like to have a 2-bedroom home with no yard to pick up and so on, no maintenance. So would you like a 500 square foot apartment? Would that do you then?
I'm going to disagree with Caleb on this. I don't see tiny homes in this development. I just don't like the look of them. I think I'd like to see, starting in the east with really high development, maybe 3-story apartment buildings that really take care of our essential worker needs, and then scaling down. Maybe the next blocks are 2-story townhomes with ADUs off the alley. And then we scale down to 1-story. I think 1/4 of this property, we had a gentleman that said he would donate the property for veteran housing.
Almost the tower.
Yeah, so, and that would be at the very furthest west. I think, all of that property has potentially great views. Somewhat disturbed by Giroux gravel pit and storage units. But if you ignore that, you've really got great views of the mountains
Well, then,
and the valley.
okay, so this horse is almost dead, so one more hit might kill it, so. All right, so let's assume we want to rezone the properties there, and the majority of the owners of the property say no. Then what do we do? We don't want it. Then what do we do?
That's to the board. I think you guys already kind of have my answer for that. I think you'd have to ask the board for that.
Are you, from the feedback you've gotten, you said it's been positive, they were property owners? And
I've had 3 property owners, one in California, one in Seattle, one in Colorado.
There's no value to the property sale. They can't build on it. It's-
Well, I understand that, but let's say they don't want to be this high density. Let's say they don't want to, but I know it's a hypothetical, but then we're talking hypotheticals right now.
But then we don't get the grant. That's the
So we
thing.
don't get the grant, but they don't
And it stays undeveloped.
They don't want to do this on their property.
They can't get it,
And they won't get a grant. They won't get a grant.
and it'll stay empty.
So,
And
yeah, I mean, that's their decision.
that's correct. It was it.
No, I see that I do disagree with.
What would they do?
If you're in town, and the town does need to expand, I think just because you own a piece of property, you want to sit there and make it empty is in my opinion, quite selfish, right? It's a town, it's a community. If you live out in county, hey, more power to you, do what you want. But if you just own a piece of land, just to say, well, I'm a property owner, I get to do whatever I want with it, and then it stays empty from here to the end of time, when there could be a family living there that could provide, that could play into the economy, right, and give back to the economy. I think
Let's
that's,
assume that up in Shadow Ridge, that gentleman, that deaf gentleman's got 2 lots, he wants the multifamily, we say, okay, that's fine with us. Is that fine?
I could do what they want.
Pardon me?
If the board said fine, then it'd be fine. But see, there's the difference.
All the other residents would be,
Now you're going into a difference between expectations, right? Shadow Ridge, there's already lots of single families there. It's primarily single family development. And it's been that way since it was developed. This area was just rezoned way back when, and it has always stayed that way. Merle, could you mute?
Give me a minute, I did it.
This area, sorry, I was in the middle and I almost lost my trail. This area, this is not a planned unit development. They're just empty lots that the town went through when they were zoning and said, oh, we got residential single family up here, we're just gonna continue all the way down. And that's how it was. So
Caleb,
there's a difference between takings.
so we're talking about the town triangular lots and then the other 3. Can you get on that whiteboard and sketch those, and for each of those 3 upper and lower lot segments?
Okay.
What you're proposing, are they all the same, or are they different, or what? Because
I can actually.
you were suggesting something that was graduated. So I'm getting confused on what we're talking about.
Imagine these are all even. They're all level.
Can I ask a question while he's drawing?
sure,
So in this needs assessment, is there gonna be any consideration on what there is to do for young people here? If there's nothing for them to do, nightlife, why would they move here? Just asking.
And in
I moved here.
Caleb's thing, it did say there's gonna be a sub something, right, the term of it, but you go under 69 to have businesses over there that are gonna employ the people, the 500 people that are gonna live in this.
But what about the nightlife? There's no,
And I
There's
think that
nothing
the
for
idea
young
is, Caleb, you can answer for yourself, but that if you increase the population, there will be the nightlife. People will be more incentivized to come in but I'm not saying I agree with all this, but I think that's the rationale. Is that right?
You're correct, that is rational. But I moved here, I didn't
you
want to.
had family here though, that's a difference too.
Yeah, well, regardless, I like, there's a big push right now for everybody to go everywhere kind of to push out rural and kind of homesteads. So
Well, that's why I was
kind
just
of like
asking if there's something that needs assessment that will address
that.
that.
I don't think so. No, not as far as nightlife. So this is what we're working with. It would essentially be 1 story, 2 story, 3 story.
And the triangles are,
Yeah, I'll put here for town. Town.
And I think a critical thing too, Caleb, help everybody understand is that's existing streets, but they may not look like that when it's done with.
Exactly.
Because once this, if a developer were to come in and take our lots and then make it work, it won't be any straight block streets like we have now.
Agreed,
So-
basically, yeah. We basically throw these all together as one big block.
so
All right,
what you've got, okay, 1 story, 2 story, 3 story, are all of those areas that are delineated by the existing roads, are they the ones that have the lots that are 125 by 52 or whatever it was?
They're 25 by 125.
25 feet by 125.
your lot's probably 2 lots, mine's 2.
Oh, I realize that, and
So it's, they're 25 by 1 in town too.
sure, that goes back to the mining days, or whatever, so.
It was platted 140 years ago by Dr. Bell and the Clifton Company. So it really didn't make much sense in 2024. None of the property owners own less than 2 of those lots. So the smallest property of the current property owners is 50 by 125.
So John, you've done a lot of thinking on this, obviously, and you said you probably would not be in favor of a tiny home district down there. How do you envision blocks 1 and 1?
The westernmost?
Yes.
I would see them as 1 story. And
1 story, single family?
they can actually be at the very western edge, 1 story, single family, but you've got a good portion of that is the property that one of the owners has said, I will give the town that property if they commit to putting veterans housing on it. And he named an organization that would do
Tunnels for
that.
towers, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know what they would be looking at doing. They would be looking at putting something probably pretty small
Yeah.
for veterans housing,
Okay,
which I think is an important part of this story.
so John, that goes back to this grant. And Caleb said if we don't rezone the whole area to high density housing or whatever, we don't get the grant. So this is not, that doesn't fit your current statement.
Well, I can elaborate. The reason I put the tiny homes was really just to give, one, I do know Tunnels to Towers, and they have had projects where they did tiny homes. So I do know that Tunnels to Towers have done that. So they wouldn't necessarily, you don't have to have them single, tiny homes, but you would want to plan for density. So townhomes was your other option. You could do townhomes, 1-story townhomes, or 1.5-story
Well, you
townhomes.
you originally said that if we don't get this rezoned to high density, that we're not gonna get the grant. So then the other question I have is, why do we have to rezone the whole thing? Why don't we just rezone the easternmost 2 blocks, those right there?
Then we get infrastructure for the 2 blocks and then leave the 4 out?
Well, they would sure as hell have water and sewer a lot closer than they do now.
They would. At least the easternmost lots will have water and sewer, yes, but you're talking, but the western wouldn't. So that's the double-edged sword you're kind of working with.
Then they can afford maybe to get it the rest of the way themselves.
My point-
I agree. It hasn't been done before, and I don't think it ever will be done.
But my point is, you're saying we're not gonna get the grant. The DOLA doesn't know the properties we're talking about, do they?
What?
Does DOLA know the geographic area that we're talking about, the lots and so forth and so on?
DOLA does know.
Yeah, but you say, I'm just saying, I really fear a strong backlash from the property owners. And then that puts us into a decision-making mode that we just have to say to people, that's your problem, we're doing it. That's not the way
That
I like
happens
to.
all over the country.
Yeah, it does.
That happens all over the country.
And-
To my family.
Hang on a second.
So
You've been on the board for a while.
Yeah.
George, you've been on, have we ever made a decision like that?
Well, I know.
And I might ask, is it, you know, and I apologize because I don't ever want to overstep, but is it the board's decision to be liked or to do what's best for the town? Even if doing what's best for the town might not be liked at first.
It's not a matter of being liked. It's respecting people's rights.
I don't see it as a taking,
No.
because there's nothing there to take.
Exactly.
That's your opinion.
That is my,
But if you own one of those properties, you
It was-
might have a different opinion.
It was the lawyer's opinion as well.
I think if I owned one of those properties, I'd be looking for a way to unload.
If you did, but you don't know. I mean, that's just it. But we, until we have actually rezoning on the issue and people know it, we're gonna find out in a big hurry. The other question is, the majority say, no, no, hell no. Then what is this board gonna do? And, this is a very small town. And we try to act in the best interest of the town, always have, at least I've been on this board for 20 years. So we've never made a decision never had it confronted with a decision like this, where we're going to, in my view, take their rights away from them.
The lawyer himself said that it wouldn't be, he would
I
have
don't
not seen
care
it as a
I
taking.
don't care what the lawyer said. It's not a matter what the lawyer said.
That's our legal advice for the town, sir.
Well, lawyer says we can do it, therefore we should do it. I don't follow that flow. And it says we can do it. The question is, should we do it?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah, so again, I think this is what, and John, you brought up the demographic dropping in 2030. Well, what if the demographic does drop in 2030? You know, then what are we looking at, or not, excuse me, not the demographic, the population drops in 2030. Then what are we looking at then? A ghost town? Just because we've done something our whole life for so long does not mean that we should keep doing that for so long.
Okay, well, I don't think the issue is so black and white, like we're gonna do as you propose, or we're doing nothing.
No,
I
sir.
think the discussion here has more to do with variability and what it is we do. For example, I'm curious as to why you're convinced you couldn't get the grant at all.
Mhm.
I mean, you are showing a variable density according to that drawing, right?
Yes, sir.
So has DOLA given you some formula? Are they saying it's gotta be so many people per acre or?
No, so absolutely not. And again, that's why I think I really do like the idea with, 3-story apartments and condos and 2-story, could be townhomes and apartments, condos. And then, but it's still up to debate, but again, and the grant itself, it does show you get bonus for density. So, I think that's a very strong part of the grant is the higher the density and the more likelihood you'll probably get this grant.
Say that again.
The higher the density, the higher the likelihood is of getting the grant. I wish this was a CDOT grant to where we can just apply, give us some money, and then we get it. Well, that's not the way the Department of Local Affairs is.
Can I ask the question,
administering this
Mayor?
grant.
So what if you were to decide just to do that, he tries to get the grant just on that, we don't get it, and then the next year he comes back and says, okay, now because we didn't get it, we need to do the other in order to get the grant to get infrastructure down there.
Say that again, yeah.
So it would take a year longer to do it, but, so he applies for just that.
Just what's described there, yeah.
Yeah, for that density there. He doesn't get the grant because of it. Hold on a second, let me finish. So he doesn't get the grant, you'd have to come back the following year and add the other density to get the grant. I think that's what he wants to try to avoid. You've got to have the density to get the grant.
Biggest bang for the buck, is
Yeah.
basically what it amounts to.
And I apologize, sir, but it would be harder for me, even if I did do great, I appreciate it, but it would be harder for me if I just did the townhome lots, which again, this is all centered around affordable housing, this grant. And then I said, okay, well, we have these other private lots that aren't gonna be affordable, but are just be high density. What do you think about that then? Then the likelihood drops, right? I can kind of sweeten the deal by throwing some honey in the pot by saying, these will feature affordable homes.
And you talked to Randy about that, right?
Yes, oh yes, oh yes.
I guess I'm a little confused on that. I mean, for the private lots,
Hmm.
how would we mandate that they're affordable?
Yeah, so again, the way to mandate the would be deed restricted, right? The town would be able to mandate it by setting up a housing, I guess the best way is talking with Upper Area Arkansas, maybe setting up a housing authority with them, and then requiring this developer on the townhome lots to have deed restricted homes. The other ones can or cannot be, I mean, it's up to the landlord on whether or not he wants to make those affordable homes or not. Right? Or the owner who's renting it, right?
So the only affordable, the ones who are saying it, you've got to put in clause for affordability, is gonna be the ones the town owns.
Correct.
Okay, so right before the meeting, I walked out in that whole area, which I walk almost every day because I take the dog. And I know this is a nitpicking thing that we don't have to include that. When you're talking about 3 stories, a huge building, 2 or 3 of them. I mean, that nothing else in the both 2 towns is anywhere near that.
Mhm.
Is this gonna create a little bit of backlash in the community of coming up with such big structures?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sure it is. 30, it'd be what, at 30 feet at the most, at 3 stories?
35.
35 at 3 stories, so.
It's right on the highway.
My building is 35 feet
Mhm.
at the peak. It's actually 34, and we put the cupolas on it.
Mhm.
I almost had to tear those off, but they didn't make me do it.
So like the apartment buildings over on,
So.
South Street in Silver Cliff, they're 2 stories, right?
Correct.
There's 2 stories.
And so now we're saying another story on top of that.
Mhm.
And you look at other apartment buildings in Silver Cliff, and you're saying that all they need is 1 parking place per unit. But you're saying in the study coming out for the 3 counties, that you're gonna have 1.5 wage owners in each unit. And so I can't imagine too many of those renters or apartment owners only having 1 vehicle. So is it realistic to restrict parking that much? I realize we gotta restrict parking, or it's never gonna happen, but it
Yeah,
doesn't seem very realistic. That's a lot of cars.
and you brought it up, we would also need to look at, our parking ordinance and kind of change that. That would be probably another thing I'd like to push forward to you guys if possible. On the townhome lots themselves, now again, we can tweak this however we want. I written it in the zoning for tomorrow to one spot per owner. But what we can do for the townhome lots, we can keep it there, allow on-street parking. And then maybe the same thing for the rest, but we can also tweak it to having two parking spaces per unit. It's really not uncommon to have one parking space per unit plus on-street parking. Again, if there is on-street parking there, it's in the south end of town, it'll be in the multifamily district. And that way, and it's separated by a park too, so it's not like the single family homes above there would be reaping any of that, right?
But you're also talking about the possibility of getting rid of some of the roads if a developer wants to do that.
Just on the townhomes, so again, you can see there's that number 3 with the T, and then there's that 6th Street. Well, to me, it doesn't really make sense to have 6th Street there. You just get rid of that, plus this gap between the 2 triangles. You make that one, have the developer put in private roads, parking lots, and apartment homes. So that would be the way to get rid of roads, nowhere else, just in between those areas. We have wide roads as it is, right? So having double parking or parking on either side is not far-fetched. It has lots for room.
All right, so one final question on this multifamily 2 or 3 story building. It's gonna have to be a developer who builds it. And then how are they controlling rents?
Again, there'll be deed restricted. So anytime let's just say your lease ends, the deed gets renewed and it'd be for the 30 years. It have a 30-year term limit. I think the highest you can do is 99. I just actually learned that at the CML conference.
And I mean,
That's how it's.
the developer's gonna want a fair return on his investment.
Mhm.
And if he's restricted in terms of what he can charge for rent, how does he get that return?
Well, they're doing this all over the state, so it's not like this is new, right? These
I
properties
don't
developers.
care where they're doing it, I just want my question answered.
Well, they're getting subsidized, first off, from the state. They're getting subsidized from the state to put these housing up, right? So you look in Buena Vista, the one housing unit they just put up, they're getting subsidized from the state, so that's how offsets their cost. They're also putting some as condos to offset the frontage costs as well, so they get some cash back. So that, the more subsidies, the more affordable they can get it to be. So that's how they make their money back, is with that.
So for the town-owned lots, would you be assuming that whoever the developers are, they would be getting state assistance?
Correct. Oh, yeah. I've been speaking to, well, one for sure that has received state assistance, correct? On multiple projects throughout the state.
And they must have a whole pot full of criteria, I suppose, right?
I don't know.
Probably.
I'm sure they do. I mean, the state must have a powerful criteria.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. And it's, again, I've only been working with developers that have had experience from getting money from the state.
And based on what we come up with, then they know that coming in, so that they make a decision whether they want to play or
Well,
not.
I understand. Well, that's gonna limit the developers, that's for sure, but whatever.
The ones that have experience doing it, so.
Exactly.
So on the private land, that procedure with state subsidies would be up to the owner or whoever he hires,
Yep.
or is the developer to do it or not do it.
Yep, 100%. And if not, it just goes to apartment, or townhomes, whatever it may be.
Caleb, I have a question. How many total units? If you went with a 2-story or 3-story, how many total units?
For the entire 6 blocks.
Yeah,
Okay, we just went over those numbers.
You said about 500, Chuck.
500 units?
No.
500 population.
Well, 500 population, oh, okay, so,
Because I was wondering what the percentage is of the low income compared to the rest of the percentage of the population for the town is. And how does that compare to, like, let's say, the percentage in Salida or Buena Vista or Florence for that matter? Florence, I don't think has anything like this, but
I wanted to let's go over to page 20, out of 25. Right now, yeah, please, in the case for affordable housing and aesthetic housing, I kind of want to, this plays into that, so I want to kind of switch gears. Would you like to look at what I have here, Chuck?
yeah. That's, don't accommodate too much, I can't see what anyway. Dilating my eyes.
Okay. All right, on this document, there are, the effort is centered on these 3 goals, right? Prosperity, unity, and growth. If you take a second to look at that, I make the case for the 3, but then it also goes on to the next point. You don't have that?
Is this the email?
Oh, no. Go to page 20 of 25.
Of which?
The entire, it should have.
This one? The case for.
Oh, okay, scroll down a bit. It starts with green lettering. Keep going. Keep going, you're almost there. All right, there, right there. Prosperity and growth, and now I'm going to be going, if you guys want to take a second and read those, then I'd also like to explain the long-term project.
Yeah, I have the page number wrong. So what page are you?
Oh, I'm 20 to 24. This is on the workshop packet. That's where I'm looking at.
Oh, it's different than ours. So am I in the right place or not?
Yeah, okay, yep, you're on the break. Starts with prosperity and goes to unity and growth.
Kind of a study to find it, what would each year possibly growth and
I think it's page 5.
years or affordable.
What I've got, the PDF file.
Yeah, but on this one. I know that, the development. They trying to do something, I tried to find out.
So and then after you read that, I have a long-term project will be focused on these 5 outcomes. One is I put reducing water/sewer fees. That is one outcome of this project, population growth and the economy. The town of West Cliff has a limited opportunity to annex new land for growth. If the town expects to increase its population and economic vitality, it will need to encourage greater density in multifamily housing choices. This in turn will boost the local economy, giving businesses more foot traffic, stable workforce for businesses year round, and increased profitability, and provide the town with increased sales tax revenue. Demographics and median age, it would bring the median age down on providing these. Future infrastructure improvement with the prospect of sustained population growth, a year-round economy with not much growth in general. It's not like we're taking up, an extra 10 acres and having it all single family. We're taking a 4 acre area, maybe 13, maybe wrong. Anyhow, but I'm going to restart that. With the prospect of sustained population growth, a year-round economy, and increased sales tax revenue, the town will be able to create newer park features to make the community more livable, more sidewalk to make the town more walkable, and more funds to maintain its current infrastructure. Right, so more people. Right now, if it's at, let's just say our population is 500, and our sales tax is 1.2 annually, all 3% with 1,000, you could assume that it would be 2.4, which we're doing very well with the 1.2 we have. With 2.4, we could. The dream of Memorial Park Complex would not necessarily be a dream as much, right? On the bottom page, past that, it starts in purple lettering. On the page number on the document should be page 8, but in the packet it's 22. On the packet 22, on that page, it's page 8. I used the last housing needs assessment for this document. Way developers can satisfy requirements. So this would really be a document for the developer to read, for them to get information on the town and to look at the incentivizements. And then on the orange lettering, these are the incentivizements that we would come out with. Obviously, this document would need more work if we haven't adopted all of these or not, but these are what I hope to get done. It starts with multiple mixed-use zones, right? 2 to 3, 1 to 2 story apartments, tiny homes, condos, townhomes. Then no density limit. We don't have a density limit on there other than they require parking. Diverse housing types, that's another incentive. Building heights has been increased. Reduced and flexible parking requirements, just went over that. Reduced utility fees. So it goes on and on and on. But I wanted to show you guys that those last two in order to see kind of the incentivizements for developer that we should chase, and then the long-term outcomes of this project. Population growth means a stronger economy means more sales tax. Though that's not the goal, is for the town to get more sales tax. It just one plays after the next. So, questions? I apologize.
I just thank you, Caleb, I've read it 3 times now. But I think the reason I'm on here is hopefully all of us as a group is we look to the future. Because if we don't, then yes, somebody mentioned earlier, but we can die. Because there are a lot of towns that have died or they're struggling. And I just don't want to see us get to that point. So you do what you've always done and get what you always got. And why are we sitting here with you all with Round Mountain having kind of figure out how the hell we take care of our sewer? That's a big issue. And if we don't get it, we're not going anywhere. Huh?
That's right. And remember, we gotta build a reservoir too.
Yeah,
And
exactly. See, so all that comes.
Sewer plant,
This is
infrastructure.
we have this opportunity and I get it all the stage right. Well, they grown a good patch of weeds down there. That's all that's going on right now. Is that what you see when you walk around there?
It's a great place to walk dogs.
I know. There's still, we have a lot more dogs if
There
this,
still would
this
be.
thing happens. It still would be. But anyway, so that's, I think we have a great opportunity. And again, it's interesting to see, like you, Paul, whether these landowners are gonna come back. I've talked to one of them that has land, and that sounds great. But we're one of them, we just keep paying taxes on it, nothing happens. They can't do anything with it, so.
I do understand your guys' worries, like, honestly, I do. I worry about the same thing too. You know, you guys probably might get more heat than I do. But I still could get the heat as well, but again, it really is about the future of the town. I don't want to end up like Walsenburg. They're right down the road. Sorry, Walsenburg, if you're listening to this, but they're another dead western town. Victor is another dead western town right behind Pikes Peak. And there's a bunch of other examples. And I think we have an opportunity here to grow and prosper. And really again, it really is centered around helping out the businesses by providing a higher workforce, more foot traffic, and keeping them busy throughout the winter, right? We got the Custer County who's concerned about bringing people from out of town in. Well, what if we just have more people supporting the businesses in general? So that is my spiel. To recap, I'd like to just put your attention back to page 2. There's that checklist. Might be page 3, excuse me, the packet. That is a checklist. Those are things that need to get done before we apply for this grant. Reduce local government fees. So as far as, before we go on to the next meeting, I'd like to ask the board if you would like to meet with Round Mountain's board to discuss lowering tap fees for affordable homes.
Does that have to be lined out before you make the grant application?
Good question.
Do they have to have a commitment from Round Mountain?
I would like, because when I submit this grant application, I'm gonna have to show that we have subsidized and reduced local government fees. I can show the Black Hills, but it provides a better case saying, hey, we brought down a $30,000 tap fee.
So what are we gonna sell our lots for?
I don't know.
That's part of it, when we get water and sewer on those lots, they're more valuable to the town, the people of Westcliff, they own those. So what are we gonna sell them for? We have to talk about that at some point in terms of what the value is of those. How much money are we putting into the town, out of the town coffers into this project?
Yeah, no doubt. I
What's the
think
match on the grant?
whatever we put into it, we're gonna get out of it, right? At the minimum.
So just questions, what is our match on the grant?
If an ideal word, if Round Mountain gives, it's 300. If Round Mountain does not give, it is a little bit more than 300.
So it seems to me that's what those properties are worth.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it just seems like, I'll just lay my cards, I don't like subsidizing, projects with town tax dollars, people's tax dollars, their property tax dollars, their sales tax dollars. I don't like that idea. Now, we do pave streets, which is our streets, our curb, our gutter, that's part of the infrastructure of the town. These properties are gonna be sold to a developer. And are they gonna build something on them or resell them or whatever? But I believe that the town has to try to recoup as much of our investment, it's $300,000. That's a big number. And there could be some opportunity costs there that we're not gonna have.
Totally agree.
So if we, so the question is, from a business standpoint, I would like to, it's not, if you can't sell them for $300,000, what can we sell them for? And keep within the affordable housing concept, if that's what we're trying to do. But the lots are worth something, right? And we own them now. We get no revenue from them now because there are lots, so we can't tax them or anything. So, and I don't know how many lots there will end up being there on ours. Do we sell them for $10,000 a lot? That's pretty cheap.
As far as our land's concerned, are you considering getting rid of these ancient definition of lots, these 25-footers?
It's a good question. Replatting is a little different than rezoning.
Right,
So that is a far harder process to do.
but it certainly would add some structure to what these things might be worth if they're by definition big enough to do something with. Right.
So, I mean, Ron?
Yeah, an example, what BV did, a similar development, apartments, affordable apartments, with Fading West, is, BV actually just gave Fading West the land, but in return, Fading West built, a daycare center, which I think would be a great addition to this development, and a great addition for the town. And that value of a daycare center, depending on how big it was, could be easily as much as $300,000.
I mean, that's a thought, yes. Here's the question, is it just for West Cliff residents or is it for?
Everybody needs it.
Just-
Yeah, yeah.
Just teasing on that.
Yeah,
But our daycare centers are closing.
what's that?
Our daycare center, one of them down the street from me, is closing. I think the
So you
school
just
started
support
one.
it?
Sorry?
Huge issue for the young folks too.
Yeah, so, anyway, but that's the thought. And, we ought to consider those kinds of alternatives where we at least are
Getting value.
recouping something for the benefit of the community.
Yeah.
So the other blocks besides the ones in the town, we're not offering them no building fees or anything.
No, theirs would be written, unless they could provide deed restricted homes. So, and then therefore fit the definition of Proposition 123, affordable housing, right? Being below a certain percent of AMI. I did put in the grant that all building reviews for the board. Might be one to change, I don't know, through this, but that way we can assure that if a developer did want to, or somebody did want to build apartments with affordable homes, that it would go through the board and then therefore they would be notified and say, okay, the board at least know with proof that these would actually be a deed, that these, units would have deed restrictions on them. I apologize. Yeah.
So John, in Silver Cliff, those gray houses, bunch of them, are they true affordable housing?
Yeah, Title 8.
I guess.
Section 8 housing. Section 8
Yeah,
housing.
no,
Based on your income.
which Craig houses are we?
Right behind the dome.
First,
Right behind the dome.
oh, behind the dome.
Yeah,
Okay.
Section 8 housing.
So those are Section 8.
And a lady from Canyon.
Who did that?
I thought it was it?
What's her name?
Canyon?
She used to live here, but she lives in Canyon now.
And those were just modulars, they just sat there.
Oh, they're stick built. They were stick built. Yeah, and you gotta, it's based on your income, because I know people live in there. That's based on their income, and then she gets as a developer, she gets whatever she's supposed to get $1,000 a month, and you can only afford to pay 600, she gets her other 400 from somebody, I don't know his name.
That's what Celeste Adams built.
So there's Section 8.
But that's for older folks, right?
I think it's for anybody, I know people who live there that were home.
And the thing is, she could probably fill it up 10 times if they had it available. And same thing with apartments up there. So there's a need, definitely is.
And it's not like this is all over town, all over West. This is a secluded spot down south. That I think is perfect for this. So back on it, we just gotta start getting some of these checklist items done. I'd like to, if you guys would like to start, if you would like me to start reaching out to the Round Mountain Board to find a time for them to meet us here and we talk about tap fees. I'd like to get that started if that's.
We cannot make a decision like that. Can we make a decision like
You
that?
can direct him to move forward with that information. You're not making a decision, just like the workshops we're gonna set.
At what point does the public get to speak?
Anytime, Merle, go ahead.
No, I'm not Merle. My name is Michael Nuanis.
Okay.
I've been listening to this garbage for now and almost 90 minutes. And here's what I've taken some notes here. And all I hear is the government wants to just, again, put their foot down and do what's against what property owners want. Again, I've said this before at a meeting before, let the free market decide. Why are we subsidizing with money that comes in from our business owners and our taxpayers to give people decreased houses, waiving property taxes, decreased water tap fees? Why are we doing that? Why am I funneling that for somebody else? I don't want to do that, and I shouldn't have to do that. Did you do that for me? No. Again, this is just another example of this town manager trying to push something that is not wanted or warranted in this town.
Well, excuse me for, I'm not gonna, let me just say this. You're one vote, obviously one opinion, and you say everybody doesn't want this. We don't know if everybody doesn't want this or everybody wants it. So I'm saying. I
respectfully agree with you. I do respectfully agree with that I am one vote, one man. However, the people that I've spoken to, and I am a landowner adjacent to this. This is one of those NIMBY things, not in my backyard. In this case, not in my front yard. Yeah. So here's the issue. Again, why are we using public funds to subsidize something that's going to be where a developer makes money? Why doesn't the free market let it happen itself? And I asked the question publicly, what is the kickback for the people who are for this? Because it sure seems like they're pushing this damn hard, and there's something more than meets the eye here. And I will publicly say that, and I will continue to say that until I'm proven wrong. But there is something going on here that just keeps getting under my ass because of the way that this town is going and the way that you guys continue to push things that people don't want. And you're right, it's me saying this, but it's also the people that I speak with. And I am one vote, but again, I've listened to this for 90 minutes now, and this is why I want this. I want the audience, because I am sick and tired of getting stuff thrown down our throats that we didn't ask for. We're perfectly fine where we were. He talks about Walsenburg being a dying town. I disagree. I've driven through Walsenburg quite often. Sure seems to be a few things going on. Are there vacant buildings? Sure. But there are vacant buildings in Denver. There are vacant buildings in Grand Junction. There are vacant buildings in West Cliff. So what does that matter? That's a crappy response to that. Rezoning 6 blocks to 3 stories tall. I just looked up the city code. The city code is we can't build anything taller than 30 feet. Tell me, and I don't know the gentleman in the center, but the gentleman in the center said that his building is 34 feet, and you had to, or I could be wrong on this, 34 feet with a cupola that wasn't torn down. Explain to me how we're going to have 3 stories at 30 feet. That's not going to happen. You need he ought to know. He's the one who's swinging on rafters and enforcing the zoning, the codes. You need a snow load to this. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and I am vehemently against it, and everyone that I know is vehemently against it. And the fact that we get a notice, I got this notice today, and it's telling me about a problem a meeting that's going on tomorrow, and I just happened to join this today, and all of a sudden it's getting thrown down our throats, and we're considering giving Round Mountain the go ahead to reduce water taps. That's crap. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry for the tone of my voice, but I am pissed off, and I am sick to death of this crap that's going on.
Okay, thanks for your input. Now, we can't approve this today as a workshop, but it will be on the board agenda in August.
Is this on the planning commission?
It's on the planning commission meeting tomorrow.
And then it will go in front of the board, next Wednesday?
No, it'd be in August.
August, so this will be on the August.
If the planning commission
If
recommends.
the planning commission approves it, It will go to the board, in August, third Tuesday in August.
Then why are we giving, Patterson the authority to contact Round Mountain right now? That's ridiculous. You're putting the cart before the horse.
Well, we need to get some input as to what their, attitude is about cutting water tap fees for affordable housing, so.
Subsidizing something else. Again, let free market dictate where this goes. We moved to Westcliff and we're a part of this Custer County where we don't want government overreach of government. And that's what's happened in the last few months that I've been here several years. I've been here 20 years and I've kept my mouth shut. And the last few months that the overreach of government that I've seen is sickening. And quite frankly, I'm sick of it. And this is why you're getting the angry me. And it's going to continue. And if you think I'm loud now, I'm going to be louder. And I'm going to come after this. If this continues, I'm going to continue to come after, and I will do everything in my power and everything in my ability to overturn this.
Well, that's your right as a citizen of,
Damn right, it's my right. Constitution gave it to me.
so, we can see that you're, angry, and, we will listen. It's our job as a board.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I really am not. I'm just tired of the overreach of government that is continuing to happen and especially accelerating in the last few months.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your input. Did somebody else want to bring anything up?
I'd like to continue on with the agenda, with the order of business, excuse me. Okay, so if you would allow me, I'd like to start to prepare to talk to Round Mountain and discuss lowering tap fees. I'd like to get this
Well,
again.
I kind of think, it's got to be a meeting between our board and their board.
Yes, sir, that's exactly.
And if they're interested in that, then we can, all of us or some of us can sit down with them and talk about that. That's my view, because it's not something their staff can make a decision on, just as you can't make a decision without us. So
Yes, sir.
it seems to me that's the right approach. Now, two people here, you'd have to recuse yourself from discussions on both sides. So,
But I think Caleb could talk to Dave, right?
sure, you can do it.
You should, I think we're directing you to do that. Was that your suggestion, Kath? That we
Well, at
can.
some point, the two boards are gonna have to make some decisions, and yeah,
Sure.
maybe that's where you need to start, Kickler, was with David.
I have, I actually just talked to him today and he said it's like, he laughed, he said it's like herding cats, but it's doable. So.
Because I understand what he's trying to do, you get the two boards together, you publish your meetings, and decisions, if you do it as a special meeting, can be made, or you go back to your own meetings and make them.
Oh, I was just suggesting though, there's no reason why Dave and Caleb can't talk together
No.
to wool gather, so there's something to present to the
Right.
board.
Yeah, I have something ready already, actually. So, but yeah, I will, yes, sir, I'll talk to Dave, as long as it's,
Get a presentation ready. Concise.
Yeah, but, sure.
So, yeah.
okay. That is all for,
Well, one more point, sir. The reason this meeting was so late getting to you, the notice of it, is that we didn't want to get out in front of our planning committee, which is meeting tomorrow. And we did want to get this moving forward, in August if we can. And that's why this meeting was organized quickly. I don't know when we organized. it.
Workshop,
Yeah.
Last week.
Last week. And so,
and we typically publish them like 4 days before a workshop or special meeting.
so that's the reason it was so late. Okay, so is there anything else? Caleb, are you finished?
I have more things to go through. That was alpha. The rest will be really quick. I promise. Then we can convene.
Sorry?
I said the rest of the items will be really quick. We got to go with Bravo, Charlie, and Delta.
BCD. BCD.
Oh, excuse me, Bravo.
ABCD.
All right. Stuck in the phonetics. All right.
Yeah, I know.
Bid schedule, okay, so revitalize Main Street, that was a sidewalk for Powell going from 69 to Second Street. The bid review committee, since you two are here, we are going to need to schedule a workshop for the RMS project to, I think that's bid openings on the 24th and negotiations on the 25th. So the 24th would be openings. I think last time was
What time?
Bob and Mark on it. 24th and 25th. What time would work for you guys? I don't know if you guys have your calendars. Early in the morning. Really available? Early in the morning? Okay, so we could do 9 a.m.
On the 24th, they're on both.
for both. Yeah. 24th and 25th.
And those we do not have to publish because it's less than 3 is 2. So we're good.
What day of the week is that?
That'll be not next, but the week after, Wednesday and Thursday. So I put that in my, should I put that email on my agenda, Kathy?
We'll get it on the calendar, Caleb.
Okay.
You want us to?
Don't we have to do the bid opening and awards before you go do the review workshop committee?
The bid opening will be on the 24th for the bid review committee, and the negotiations will be on the 25th.
Okay, what time on the 24th?
At 9. It would only be Mark and Bob. That way we can just do it quickly and not have to publish.
And that was
We can-
also set, they're the bid review committee.
Correct, that was said a long time ago.
How many bids do we have?
We don't have any yet.
We
It's
don't
not
have
out to bid yet.
It's gonna be out to bid tomorrow.
Hopefully, yeah.
Kathy, I printed out and I don't have the email from Nathan giving me all the dates. He said it was in his packet.
It should be the very first thing in the packet after the agenda.
Yeah, you guys have it? No, I have the points I made. I don't have it. I need to.
Well, we can get with the board and schedule the award. May not be able to get that scheduled anyway.
Yeah, we're looking if we can, if the negotiations are on the 25th. I think actually Nathan might have that wrong. I think we might need to do the bid opening. And when we accompany, because last time we did it for Just Price, we did bid opening and then we had the board choose someone and then we went to bid negotiations, didn't we?
Yeah, that's
what I was
saying.
All right, so we might have to switch these dates up. So 24th would be bid opening. We'll just do with the bid review committee at 9 a.m. And then, board, if you could make a meeting on the 25th, which is on Thursday, would you guys be able to make that the day after the bid opening? Or we could just have it right on the 24th, right afterwards, right? Do the bid
Yeah, we can
opening.
post it either way. We got time to post it.
We can do at 9 a.m., have a bid opening on the 24th, and then maybe at 10 a.m. having it convene that last
More than
meeting.
an hour.
What's that?
If more than an hour.
More than an hour. Okay, and 11. I need you, do you guys have your schedule now? No?
So you're saying the 24th?
Paul can't do Thursdays.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Friday. Okay, so let's just do this. 24th, 9 a.m. will be bid opening. 26th, which is a Friday, not next week, but the week after. The board will need to do bid openings.
Reviews, right?
Reviews.
Excuse me, bid,
Board meeting next week.
16th, next Tuesday.
thank you, reviews.
I may be gone out of town.
have to
From the
have at least
17th to the 24th.
Yeah, we just have to have 4 for the meeting.
I'm thinking award. Opening on the 24th. And
Let's sort
then,
of negotiate.
how did we do it?
Will any add alternates in this
No.
project?
There's no add on.
No, I think the bid review the committee met together last time. We went up,
There may not be any negotiating if there's just one contractor.
yeah, we opened the bids and we negotiated. I don't think we negotiated then, but at least we chose the
How much
bid.
money we
Did
have?
after the fact.
Maybe
We
it's
adjusted
way
prices
over-
and stuff
Yeah.
like
Then what do we do?
Yeah, we have to bid again. There really is no negotiating it. We had The grant was, the project is like 277,000. The grant was 250. So if it comes over that, you're gonna have to either amend the budget to pay the difference, or you cut it back. Take one block off.
So for Jeff Price, we talked to the company that got the bid and we adjusted things
Yes, to get it under.
to get it under the
Yeah.
budget.
And this has been engineered, so we've got the engineer.
Okay.
So the 26th at what time?
26 at 9. I think we do award for the board at 9 on the 26th as well. So we have the opening on the 24th, then the award on the 26th at 9. And then negotiations,
Do they want to meet at 9 o'clock?
I think we do negotiations with this ones.
On the 26th, do you want that early, or do you want to do later in the day?
9 o'clock is fine with me.
9 o'clock.
Okay.
And then we just do award. And I think we skip, I know Nathan wanted to do negotiations, but
May not need to do anything.
yeah, we might not. I think we can probably do that with the bid opening. Maybe go through some of these and look at the low bid, the apparent low bid, and see, look over their amounts and maybe suggest that in lower some, but this is gonna be a little bit different than a just price park project. So negotiations might not be
And this
necessary.
is CDOT money, but it's not as restrictive or cumbersome as the CDOT cap money. There's not as many hoops that we have process as they do.
I apologize, board clear as mud. I was going off the email that Nathan sent me, so I wanted to get my bearings straight on that. All right, thank you. Next one is schedule the Westcliff Parks Advisory Committee to review the Memorial Park proposed plan for August 6th. So the WPAC. What was that?
What time on the 6th?
I am going to ask Lori.
Midnight.
Good luck.
Will that go to the planning committee?
No, that's planning committee's land use. This will be strictly with the board. So the Westcliff Parks Advisory Committee has a mock-up of Memorial Park they'd like to show to the board. We'd like to show it before the board on the 6th during a committee, or excuse me, not a committee, during a workshop, thank you. That way have enough time by the 13th to make any suggestions and have it on the agenda on the 20th. So that gives us a week to make the suggestions and then a week for us to put it on the agenda for posting.
But these decisions wouldn't be for until years down the road when we have the money, correct?
Correct, I mean-
You just want to approve the plan.
Correct, yep. We just want to, before this board meeting, so we're not dragging out another board meeting, get the board's approval and then start
Will we
taking
have
some.
something before the meeting? Will we have any kind of document that we can? Okay, so that we can see it before the workshop. I'd like that to be as early in the morning as possible, because I have family here during that week.
So the 6th, we could do 9 AM again, or we can do earlier.
That's fine with me.
I can't do it in the morning at all.
Okay.
On the 6th.
The other thing on the,
Okay.
Oh, that's fine. Or you've been with the,
is we did have somebody leave. We have a potential replacement. And I've been made the chairman, but I think the board of trustees has to approve all that.
They have to appoint two, and that's not on the agenda this for Tuesday. We can put it on there if you guys want that on there.
yes, please.
We gotta get it over with, okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
And also, we're going back to, we think, 2 board members on the advisory committee and the rest citizens.
There could be 3 citizens in it, or 2.
Well, we had 3 and now we're down to 2.
And Mark, if you could get that to Aaron and I in an email so we can include it in the agenda summary would be really helpful.
Okay,
That way everybody knows ahead of time.
And what you sent out to me is what you're going to present.
yeah, I mean, we've got a document, just briefly, that is a rough document. Caleb has some changes which aren't in it. And then Inge and I in particular are going over presentation material. And there's also documents addressing future funding, which are in their beginning stages, I guess is fair to say at this point. So there will be material.
Good. Anything else come up before the good of the group? just one more point on these lots down here. I've got 33 lots in my subdivision. They've been growing weeds for 30 years because I don't have any sewer. So, you know what I mean? So should they be rezoned? That's my will. So asking you guys.
What are they doing?
Do you want it?
Well, zoning, highway commercial, my point is, you know, you guys said we haven't been doing anything for 30 years on those things, it's just grow weeds, and we're gonna make them affordable housing. I have 40 acres in the back, it's in Silver Cliff, same thing, because I can't get sewer. So my point is, just because a property is vacant and Round Mountain doesn't provide services to it, doesn't mean that the property owners should just, you know, have to be forced into some other use of their property. That's all I'm saying.
Well, that will be an issue I suspect we're gonna hear about.
Well, I pay, everybody in this room who, I pay a tax on my property to Round Mountain Water and Sanitation District for services I do not get. Services I do not get. There's no taxation without representation. I guess they represent me. I didn't have I still have to pay the tax. Why don't you guys run that board? Why don't you say, you need to plumb those areas? So,
Maybe we need to, do away with the tax.
oh, yes, sure.
Are we finished with what was on the
Yeah, I'm just gonna say,
point of order?
point of order.
I mean, not point of order, of the order of business, sir.
Yes, so we're doing, I don't need to drive, I didn't, yeah, John,
I just, yeah, it's a valid question. It's been 30 years, it's commercial property. I don't think anybody wants to change the zoning of that property.
no, I'm
The
just,
property that we're talking about was platted 140 years ago before the age of the automobile, for completely different reasons. And yes, there are owners of that property right now, private owners of that property right now, including the town. But I think the town has an issue, a housing issue that needs to be solved. It also has a limited room to expand. We're kind of limited to our 1.25 square miles. So this is an opportunity for the town to increase vitality, increase housing choice, solve workforce housing issues, or begin to solve them. And it's apples and oranges. It's not your commercial lots. It's something
I'm just
completely
saying,
different.
it's the same argument, that's all I'm saying. And, you can take my 33 acres there, which is a lot more than that. Just think of all the houses you get on those. I'm just saying.
Are you offering that?
No, I'm not, but you know, I had to personally play, I and others, Art was one of them, had to pay Round Mountain to bring water onto our property. We had to pay that.
Yeah.
We're already paying it, and so, don't get me started. I don't know why you even brought that up.
Are we finished?
Well, I'm finished.
Yeah.
That's my rant for the day. Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks for coming, everybody.